Hello, everybody. It's about that time. Let's go see what's in the fridge today. Hello, everybody. Thanks for stopping by Gregsbeerreviews today. I don't know whether this is going to be a winner or a loser. Everything that I've had from Goose Island that has been brewed in Chicago at the original brewery has been pretty impressive. Now, a lot of the stuff that they're doing in New York for Goose Island has been fairly unimpressive. So when I picked this bottle up, I looked and see where it was done at, whether it was Chicago or New York or somewhere else. And it's done in Chicago, so I said, well, I'll pick it up since it comes from Chicago, and hopefully it'll be a good one. I have not had this particular one before. This is called the Muddy, which is an Imperial Stout, amplified sweetness with licorice notes, brewed and bottled by Goose Island Beer Company, Chicago, Illinois. Imperial Stout brewed with licorice. Bottled on August 14th of 2014. Well, it says 20 August 14, so that's probably just August of 2014. It may be the 20th of August of 2014. I'm not sure how to read the label since the 20 is in front of August. But it being a 9% is what it says here. Let's see if it's on the bottle anywhere. Yep, 9%, 32 IBUs. Written right here on the label. Goose Island, nice red, white, and blue label. Third in a snifter. I got the double glass here today. But we'll see. From what I have read and heard, some people like it and some people do not like it. So I don't know which category I'm going to be in yet. So 9%, it's a 12-ounce bottle. It wasn't super pricey. It wasn't cheap, but it wasn't super pricey. For a 9%er, it was reasonable. So let's get on with this one. The food pairings for this beer, cheeses are the buttery brie, Gouda, Havarti, Swiss, and since it is a stout, it goes well with your chocolate dishes. And the meat is beef, smoked meat, game and grilled meat. Glass for a pint, Becker Nonic tumbler, snifter, oversized wine glass. The double glass is what I'm going to use. And this can be cellared for long periods. 9%er, I would say this would probably keep 5 to 10 years anyway. So if you wanted to keep this beer, or if you wanted to pick up more than one, 4-pack or 6-pack, or however it's packaged, I bought a single. The beer store that I was at over the weekend offered it in a single, and I don't usually buy more than one unless I've had it before and I like it. So see what the commercial description says. Imperial Stout brewed with licorice, same thing I've written on the bottle. So I don't think I'm going to flap my gums any further about this, so let's get the cap off of it. Nice little hiss, not a lot of smoke. We're 9%, let's go down the center. It's not pitch black. I mean, coming out of the bottle, it's a red ruby color. But they call it the Muddy for a reason. I've heard that it has a brownish tint to it. Let's get it over to the light. We got a finger of head in there. I'm not getting a lot of light through the beer. Very reminiscent of a stout. Not even around the edges. And it's hard to tell. It looks black to me, but it looked ruby red coming out of the bottle. It didn't look like motor oil or anything coming out of the bottle. And the head is dissipating very, very quickly. It's just barely covering the top of the beer now. So let's get a nose on it, see what we got. I'm getting a rich roasted malt, a hint of licorice in there. Maybe some dark cherries or plums or raisins or figs, some darker fruit. It's got a sweet smell to it, 9% with 32 IBUs. It shouldn't be very bitter. Maybe just a hint of some coffee in there too, or tobacco. Well, the head is gone. No time like the present. Cheers, everybody. Rich roasted malt, like I said. Same on the nose as in the taste. I am getting the licorice in there. A hint of coffee. Very thin. For a stout, it's very thin. Decent. Very easy drinking for a 9%er. Not getting the alcohol, so it's a well-made beer. Just doesn't seem to be as complex as maybe their Bourbon County series of stouts. It's got a, I want to say it has, to me it has like an acidic taste to it. The licorice is definitely there. If you don't like licorice, you probably won't like this. It's got a strong licorice taste to it, and that's not a sweet taste to me. It's definitely not in the same line as the Bourbon County series. Definitely a lot thinner. Heavy on the licorice. Almost like a burnt malt in licorice. But it's 40 degrees right out of the fridge. Let's let it warm up and see if it changes any, or if I still think it's kind of on the thin side. See if any of the flavors come together. I'm not sold on this one. It's not quite sweet enough. I don't know if they use any lactose in the brewing of this beer or not, but it's not overly bitter. But to me, it's kind of bland compared to the Bourbon County series or some of the other flavorful stouts that have a lot of stuff going on. I'll be right back. Let's let it warm up and see where it ends up, guys. Alright, guys, I'm back. Been sipping on this probably about 45 minutes. It's a decent stout. Very thin in the mouthfeel, though. Nothing like the Bourbon County series that these guys do. The licorice adds a bitterness to it to me. It's not overly bitter as far as the hops, but with the licorice added to it, adds a little bit of bitterness to it, and it's not as complex as the Bourbon County stouts and some of the other Imperial stouts. So it's okay. I mean, it's definitely not blowing my hair back or my socks off. Very easy drinking. I mean, I'm not getting the alcohol, so it's a very well-made beer, but it's not very complex for an Imperial stout. The roasted malt's coming through, and the licorice, and a hint of some dark fruit, but very thin on the mouthfeel, and not very complex. So let's do the final chug. Don't know if InBev or Anheuser-Busch or Budweiser, however you want to call them people, had an influence on how this beer was made, or the ingredients, or how it was brewed, or anything like that, or whatever. But it's just not quite up to the Bourbon County series as far as I'm concerned. I would definitely choose that series over this any day. This doesn't have the complexity and the and the mouthfeel. And the ingredients, they're there, but they just don't seem to come together to me. Now, this may be a good one to cellar for a year or 2 or 3 and see if it changes any and how it's put together and if it improves any over time, but wasn't super impressed with this. It's definitely above average beer, but I don't think it's quite to the A category in my opinion. It does have a date on it. I was going to give it to B, which is the 6, but it does have a date on it, and it tells you that it was when it was brewed. I'm gonna give it the B plus reluctantly on this one. But if you're looking for a better Imperial Stout, there are a lot of other ones out there that are a tad tastier than this and a little more complex, and especially the bourbon barrel aged versions of some of these Imperial Stouts to me are better. Now, if you don't like bourbon, you might think this is wonderful, but I do like the bourbon barrel aged versions of these types of beers. So just a little on the thin side, like I said. So we're going to leave it at that. I'm going to give it the 7, which is a B plus, because it does have the date on it. And let me know if you've had this particular one and what you think of it. Let's go over to Beer Advocate. Beer Advocate says 85 in the good range, and I would not argue with that 100% or 50% or even 25%. I think that's a reasonable assessment. If I was putting a numeric date on this or rating on this beer, I would probably have it at an 87 or an 88 myself. So pretty close to their numbers. Over to Rate Beer. Rate Beer says overall 92, so pretty impressive numbers there from those guys, but 41 in the style. So there's a lot of people that are thinking like I do, that it doesn't quite fit the Imperial Stout, even though it's a 9%er, and it is an Imperial version of this beer. It's just not quite as complex as some of the others that are out there. And with the thin mouthfeel and the bitterness, either, I don't think it's from the hops because it doesn't have a bitter back end, but it just doesn't have the sweetness. Even though it's plenty sweet, it's tough to put my finger on why this beer, other than the thin mouthfeel, is not as tasty as some of the other Imperial Stouts of this. So maybe the licorice is having an effect of them adding it to it. And if you're a big licorice fan, you may love this beer. So if you've had this one from Goose Island, this is their the Muddy Imperial Stout. Let me know what you think of it. And that's where we're going to leave it today, guys. So we'll be back tomorrow. We're going to see if we can dig something tasty out of the fridge. See you then.